assessments of where your team's at right now, what you saw that was positive and what needs to get worked on this summer?
Good, the bad, and ugly. Some bad early, and I thought we settled down, playing a lot of young guys as they are. So it looked sloppy early, and then I thought offensively we settled down, and the defense kind of picked up off of that and started to get some stops and come off the field. We need to work fundamentals. You get 9 practices in spring and playing as many young guys as we have, you can see, we talked to them after catch and throw, block and tackle, the little fundamentals of football we need to get better at. So a lot of good, a lot of young guys got a lot of reps, so that's a positive. Actually, our seniors were the ones I thought were kind of complacent, so maybe we got to put a foot where it needs to be put and get them moving.
Has the receiving aspect, has that been kind of a work in progress this spring overall, or did it just kind of get contagious once the first ball hits the ground, it can kind of get away from it?
And I actually, through the first 8 practices, they were our best position group by far. We were very impressed with how they had grown up, and Monday they had a little bit of a shaky practice, and that carried over into Tuesday. And I guess it's a confidence thing. I thought Landon threw the heck out of the ball, so he was putting it there when, a couple of times they got pressures and he had to move, but even then we threw well on the run. I think just confidence, and reps. We lose Kobe Lewis last year, but it's high school. Everybody loses kids, and you got new kids replacing them. We need them to catch the football. We don't have CJ like we did last year to lean on with the run game, especially early. So we're going to put it in the air. Landon's capable, so we're going to play the guys who can catch it. Who can run the route and catch it.
You talk about building confidence when you have a couple of young offensive linemen and the amount of pressure that this Blue Jays team can apply off the edge. For the guys to battle the way they did tonight against that caliber of defensive ends, how much can they take some pride in that and continue to build heading into the fall?
Yeah, and we told them, look, last spring we thought it was the best D-line we played until we played E.D. White and then probably Destrehan, and same thing this year. They're very well coached. They do a great job playing technique, but then they also move around enough to give you problems. So, we didn't game plan a ton, but because of how good they were, we had to make sure we had our protection set. He's obviously Zero's pretty dang good. So I was impressed with some of the stuff we did. I thought we ran the ball well once we settled down. Early, typical young linemen popping straight up on our protections, and you couldn't tell when we were running the ball. But when they came off the ball after we settled down, Coach Beaudry and Coach Pelche, got on the whiteboard with them and showed them a couple technique things and a couple things that they were doing, movement wise, and they settled down, and that part was encouraging, that they're coachable and they're listening, and we were able to run the ball a little bit more. We rotated 5 backs because we really aren't sure which ones are in the mix right now. I thought Jackson Porter, the 9th grader, had a good night. He's a special football player, but you never know what a freshman's going to do against a good defense like that.
Talk about Landon. I know he started for you guys as a sophomore last year. Talk about how he's growing over the course of the spring.
We don't get him much because he's a starting shortstop on the baseball team. So he didn't throw a football until the day before spring. He also had some shoulder tendonitis, so he really was limited early on. We kind of let him take the week before spring off from throwing on purpose, let him rest it. But he was chomping at the bit. He wanted to throw. His progression has a lot to do with his physical development. I told him after, I said, I think you need to still use your lower half a little bit more, still trying to arm a lot of things. But his arm's so much stronger. We ran a 15-yard dig that I wouldn't have dreamed of running last year, and he put it right on the dot. Knock-in dropped it, but then he came back later and threw the deep ball, and Knock-in made a good play. So again, some good and bad. It's a scrimmage. You try not to get too discouraged or encouraged based on what you see, but overall, please, I know what they do. You look at them and they're like, dang, they can't be too good, and then next thing you know, they're playing with Card, in the 4th quarter and beating St. Aug, So we know what they are, so that's why I like scrimmaging them. And Coach Manali does a phenomenal job. First class, everything's first class. The kids don't, there's no trash talking. They come in, they get their work in, and they leave.